Ho-Oh, the mythical Pokemon of the Johto region with the sacred powers to resurrect the dead from the ashes of the other world. A majestic beast said to leave behind a stunning rainbow as it glides through the heavens above, said in myth to grant the viewer a life of eternal bliss. This venerated bird Pokemon, once residing on top of one of the two 9-tiered towers in the historic city of Ekritik, now is said to roam the skies and search for a trainer, pure of heart. This is the legend behind Ho-Oh, but there's a lot to be learned about this interesting Pokemon's obvious, yet deep, origin. Ho-Oh in the Pokemon games is an avian Pokemon that resembles something like a peacock, or something like a phoenix. Hint, hint. As I mentioned before, Ho-Oh used to be perched on top of the Tin Tower, or the Bell Tower as it's now called, which is based on the real-life Ginkakuji Pavilion in Kyoto. However, on one stormy night, a lightning bolt struck the opposite tower, the Brass Tower, setting it ablaze. The guardian Pokemon, Lugia, fled, and consequently, 3 unknown creatures perished in the blazing tower. Within the myths, it's said that Ho-Oh revived the 3 creatures, which are now known as the Beast Trio, Raikou, Suicune, and Entei. Furthermore, to the lore of the Pokemon games, Ho-Oh is considered the guardian of the skies, and its counterpart, Lugia, the guardian of the sea. And as I mentioned before, the myth says that if a lucky person gets a glance at this elusive beast, it would grant that person eternal happiness. With that all laid out, what about Ho-Oh's real-life counterpart? Ho-Oh is undoubtedly based on the phoenix of Chinese mythology, called Fenghong in Chinese and Ho-Oh in Japanese. And yes, Ho-Oh, the Pokemon, has the same exact name as its real-life counterpart. In regards to its appearance, the Chinese phoenix is often described as having the beak of a rooster, head of a pheasant, neck of a snake, legs of a crane, tail of a peacock, as well as a few other mismatched features, somewhat like its mythical counterpart, the Keating. The phoenix has a long and important history throughout Chinese culture and mythology, as an auspicious being symbolizing longevity. The Chinese phoenix made its appearance more than 7,000 years ago in various objects like jade luck charms and pottery during the Neolithic periods, and appearing as an important figure as early as the Shang dynasty, where its myths are mentioned in various texts. Originally considered to be 2 different birds, Ho being the male counterpart, and O being the female, naturally symbolizing yin and yang in Taoist philosophy, later fused together as one entity in the Yuan dynasty, and the combined names were used, thus getting Fenghong, or Ho-Oh in Japanese. Said to have tail feathers of 5 distinct colors, black, white, red, green, and yellow. Each color represented the 5 elements of wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, and a virtue in Chinese Confucianism. The Fenghong also represented the power bestowed from the heavens to the Empress, thus being the symbol for said Empress, whilst the Fenghong's counterpart, the dragon, was the symbol for the Chinese emperors. Now, in regards to some common legends associated with this sacred creature, it is said that it only appears rarely to mark the beginning of a new era, like the birth of a new chosen ruler. In other lore, the Ho-Oh will appear in times of peace and prosperity, preferring to nest in the paulownia trees. However, it disappears in times of unrest. At the start of any new age, this sacred creature is said to perform good deeds across the land, and once it is finished, it returns to the heavens to await the next new era of prosperity. So in general, the Ho-Oh has been considered a symbol of peace when it arrives, and a symbol of strife when it eventually disappears. However, something very important to note is that the phoenix in Chinese and Japanese lore is also the bringer of good fortune, and any vision of it was believed to bring luck and wealth to the person that envisioned it in the near future. So it is very similar to the case of Ho-Oh in the Pokemon games. And lastly, although this creature has its origins in China, like many ideas and philosophies at the time, it made its way across the sea to Japan during the Asuka period, and possibly even earlier than this during the Kofun era, as there are artifacts that likely depict it. The Ho-Oh was widely adopted as a special symbol within the Japanese imperial line, and is considered as one of the most revered sacred creatures in Japan. Depictions of the Ho-Oh had become a popular motif throughout the centuries in textile works, metalworks, ceramics, and architecture, and you could also see them on top of temples in general as ornaments, for instance, Byodo-in or Kinkakuji. That is pretty much all I have for this video. Like I said earlier, Ho-Oh does have an interesting origin, one that I thoroughly enjoyed doing research on. If you happen to enjoy the video, awesome. If not, that is awesome as well. With that being said, it is time for me to roll on out of here. Catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.